When you get ready to buy your new home, it's only natural that you're going to feel a lot of anxiety and even some fear over making the wrong move or completely overlooking something that's critically important. Of course, we know that fear is just really an acronym for false evidence appearing real, and the best way to replace fear is with knowledge. So let's get you some education to help you make the right move. My name is Andrew Finney, and my passion is helping you make sense of real estate. If you need help finding a top agent near you, or if you simply want to drop me a line to say hello, my contact info is below. If you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel now and like this video. Thank you. All right, my friend, let's take a closer look at these 11 biggest mistakes that a lot of first-time homebuyers make so that we can help you avoid them and alleviate the stress they cause. The first mistake is miscalculating the overall cost of buying a house. It goes without saying that buying a house is a major financial investment and a very big deal. In fact, it's such a big deal that most of us will only ever buy a home 3 to 5 times over the course of our entire lifetime. So it's really important to get this right. Real estate done correct will help you make money and add to your net worth over time into the future, whilst getting it wrong can devastate your financial picture and take years to recover from. All too often, home buyers miscalculate the total cost of buying the home. Everybody's heard of the down payment, which is only one side of the picture. There's also the other side of the picture called buyer closing costs. Buyer closing costs across the country generally range between 2% and 5% depending if you're in an attorney state. Generally, it's best practice to plan on 3% for buyer closing cost of the total sales price. So when we're talking about a total sales price, let's say you're buying a $500,000 home and you're using a 5% down payment and buyer closing costs of 3%. To illustrate this, take your $500,000, multiply it by 5% for your down payment, that's $25,000. Multiply it by 3% for your buyer closing cost, that's $15,000. Adding those two numbers together are your total cost to purchase the $500,000 home at $40,000 to be prepared for. It's important to note that does not include things like your moving expenses and whether you intend to have people assist you moving into your new place, or if it's an out-of-state move, how much that's going to cost. Please budget accordingly by getting those quotes up front when you get ready to buy your new home. The best way to determine what the buyer closing costs are going to be for you is to sit down with the key players, being your trusted real estate advisor, your loan officer, and the title company and your insurance agent. Those full parties will be able to help you understand and make sense of your buyer closing costs in a very, very comprehensive way, so you know where your money is going to buy your new home and you know what to expect moving forward. The second mistake that a lot of home buyers make is they only obsess over the home. And it's only natural that a lot of people find the home that they want, they see it online, they're falling in love with it day by day as they look through each of those photos. Each click makes your heart tug a little bit stronger towards that home. And that's okay, but it's important to think about the bigger picture of where that home is. What's the neighborhood look like? What are the crime stats of the area? What are the school ratings for the local school zones in that area? What does the local economy look like for that area? What are shopping centers are around? It's important to take note of the overall picture. One of the best things that you could possibly do when you see that home that you really like is to simply drive through the community before actually viewing the home. A lot of people have found this extremely helpful in practice when I share with them to do that here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and they're so happy that they did. Sometimes you might be looking at a home that has every bit of the fit and finish, every single upgrade that you want, but when you drive into your community, you're like, you know, this isn't what I was expecting. This isn't what I'm looking for my next home. This isn't right for me. I should be looking over here. It helps you identify which side of town, what area that you want to live in within the price range that you're looking for in your new home. To better help you out with this, I'll go ahead and pop up a card about how to find the best neighborhood for you. After this conversation, give it a view and take specific note and save the links that I share with you in that video so that you know how best to find the right home and neighborhood just for you. The third mistake a lot of home buyers make is being closed-minded to all of their available opportunities. When we're talking about all the available opportunities, we're talking about all the homes that are on the market. You might see some homes that need some cosmetic work, but the rest of it is exactly the way that you want, from the floor plan to the layout to the area preference that you might have. It's kind of like that old adage that they say that beauty runs skin deep. We need to look at the heart, the soul, and the character of the home to make sure that it has the right character and charm to keep you happy with what you're expecting in your new home. Sometimes there's really lousy listing photography, and you know the ones, I'm sure you can think of one right now, that everything else sounds great about the home, but you can't really get a good interpretation from the listing photography. Sometimes those pictures could be a really good representation of what's really going on in that house because they're like true to form, and other times not so much. If you have that question in your mind that it might be a good home for you based upon reading into the details of that property, go take take a look at the area. Call your trusted real estate advisor, set a showing appointment, and see if it's going to be the right home for you. Don't be tricked just by a beautiful image online. Make sure that you're finding the right home by keeping your mind open. Being open-minded during your home search is extremely wise, and it's something that will help you ensure that you have the right home for you. The fourth mistake a lot of buyers make are letting their emotions override their financial judgment. When we're talking about letting the emotions override the financial judgment, it's only natural that home buying, by its very nature of what it is, buying the new place that we're going to call home, is a very emotional process. Sometimes it might feel like you're an emotional roller coaster. I'll throw up a card about the 14 different emotions you're likely to experience buying your first home. At the same time, when we're peeling this back a little bit, we need to be realistic about the budget. We need to be realistic about how much it's going to cost to get into your new home, and ensure that you're making an appropriate decision that's right for you by considering the fact that it's not always wise to max out your pre-approval amount. I know that might sound a little bit counterintuitive to you coming from a trusted real estate advisor, but you got to remember, as a trusted real estate advisor, I'm looking out for your best interest, and that includes your overall health. When we're talking about the overall health, it definitely has to do with your financial judgment. If you tap yourself out at your max pre-approval amount, let's say that takes you up to like a 45% or 50% back-end debt-to-income ratio, and don't worry if you don't know what the debt-to-income ratio is, just consider it like how much money you got going out for all of your bills that you have, all your creditors, plus your anticipated mortgage. If you're that high, you got to remember something. A loan officer is calculating your loan pre-approval letter off of your gross income, which means that amount before taxes. If you have a 25% tax bracket that you're in, and you have 50% as a debt-to-income ratio moving into the purchase of that property, can you realistically live on the remaining 25% when you consider the cost of living from the utilities, your food, and any other expenses that you may have? Only you could answer that question. All I ask you to do is to take a step back, hashtag JTAB, just take a breath, right, and reassess the position to help you make a well-informed decision. Too often people get hot and heavy in the emotions, and they get fixated, and it becomes a mission in life. It's like a Marine on a mission that's going in there to do whatever they got to do to accomplish the mission, because the primary objective of the United States Marine Corps is mission accomplishment. But here's the thing, it's always best to assess the overall picture and keep an open mind to what's really going on, not only about the neighborhood, but by your financial position. I want you to consider something that's very real. What happens if unfortunately you lost your job? What happens unfortunately if somebody in your household got sick and they're no longer able to produce an income? How's that going to put you and your family, you and the people that you're buying a home with? What kind of position are you going to endure in that case? I want you to think about that, because it's always best to have a contingency plan in mind. The last thing that we want to see you do is buy your dream home, buy the home that you're going to be so happy in, and then lose it 3 to 5 years into the future because you tapped yourself out. Please don't let your emotions override your logic. Take a deep breath. Hashtag JTAB. Just remember that way. Hashtag JTAB. Just take a breath and reassess. One of the best ways to do that is to work with your trusted real estate advisor to perform what's called a comparative market analysis on the property that you wish to purchase to ensure that the price is correct as listed. As we know, sometimes sellers list property for more than it really should be listed for, so we need to verify that everything's on the up and right with your offer. It's far better if a house is listed at $500,000 and the comparative market analysis comes out around $480,000. It's far better to make the seller an offer at $480,000 up front, so that if the terms are agreed upon moving forward, everybody's happy with the deal, as opposed to saying, oh, well, when the appraisal comes in, we can renegotiate. The fallacy with that negotiation tactic is, in the seller's mind, right or wrong, the seller has already spent the money on the $500,000 in their mind's eye. And what happens when people start feeling like they're getting taken advantage of is it makes a very strenuous negotiation when you got to try to renegotiate. You as a home buyer aren't going to be able to get more home loan than the appraised value. So wouldn't it be best to work with your trusted real estate advisor to get the price right first? So please have that conversation with them and consider your offer strategy closely when moving forward. And at the end of the day, remember, it's okay to let your emotions guide you to the right home, but when it comes to the numbers, use your logic. The fifth mistake is getting distracted by the small stuff. You know that stuff like home staging, beautiful listing photography, beautiful things inside the home? Yeah, it's completely normal, it's completely understandable. A well-upgraded home, a well-maintained home is awesome, but it's also important to explore the components of the home that could be costly. Consider the age and the condition of the roof. Consider the age and the condition of the HVAC system, which is the heating, ventilation, ventilation and air conditioning system, also known to most of us as simply climate control, right? So it's important to assess the condition and the age, because what happens if one of those components go out? We don't want you moving in without having a realistic game plan for your home maintenance going forward. And the last thing that we would like to see is anything happen in your new home that has to be replaced right away. So it's important to look past all the bells and whistles, past all the beautiful home staging, and start assessing with your home inspector what's really going on with the condition of this home. Having your trusted real estate advisor talk to the listing agent to find out what kind of home maintenance has been done, when the last time anything was replaced, and if it's a really upgraded home, they might even have a list of improvements of who provided the work in that home, and could get a copy of hopefully the receipts from the time that work was done, so you could contact the contractors if you needed them come back out again. It's important to look beyond just the skin. It goes back to that beauty is only skin deep. Let's explore the character of the home and explore its charm to ensure that you're making the right decision. The sixth mistake a lot of buyers make is not understanding the role of the real estate advisor. In this case, this comes up a lot with a first-time home buyer, home buyers in general, that think to themselves, oh, I talked to this agent, I've been talking to him for months, but now I really want to go check out a new construction, and I'm not going to call the agent to let him know, but I'm just going to walk in there by myself. Doing that could void out any rights that you have to your own independent representation through your trusted real estate advisor. That's not a wise idea. The agent that's in the new home construction works for who? The builder. And if you have an agent that's working for the builder, how much are they going to uphold your interest? It's nothing against new construction communities, and it's nothing against new construction agents whatsoever. There's a lot of wonderful companies out there building homes, and there's a lot of wonderful sales professionals working for those builders. My only question is, would you rather have somebody that's 100% committed to your best interest, or one that has a conflict of interest by working for the builder? Only you can answer that and decide what's right for you. The other thing to consider is what happens if you attend an open house. Walking into that open house, is highly probable that the agent that's hosting that open house is working for the seller, or is an agent that works with the listing agent to help that seller sell their home. Whose best interests are being represented there? Yours or the seller's? The seller's, right? So by going in there and divulging all of your financial secrets, divulging your whole personal story, what are you doing? You're giving away all of your negotiation tactics, all of your negotiation cards right up front by saying, oh, I'll go pay $510,000 for this home right now, and I'll work with you, I'll work with whomever I got to get this home. Oh, really? But then the appraisal comes in at $480,000. So now you're at a net negative of $30,000, and what's the seller's going to expect you to do? They're going to be looking to you to pony up out of pocket above and beyond that appraised value, or to renegotiate if the terms are going to be favorable to all parties involved, including you and the seller. Wouldn't it be best to have your own trusted real estate advisor upholding your best interest and sharing the information with a person that's bound to your best interest? Think about it for a moment. I know that it sounds like, oh, it's kind of common sense here, Andrew, because it really is. But going back to the emotional side of buying a home, people sometimes allow their logic to become clouded. That's why we're having this conversation now, is to help protect you and help make sure that you understand the role of your trusted real estate advisor. Your trusted real estate advisor that you're working with to uphold your best interest will be a huge source of information to you, from local crime maps to school ratings to any demographic information that you need to make a well-informed decision, to your comparative market analysis for the properties, market conditions, market trends, market indicators, and so much more to help you make a well-informed decision about the home that you wish to make an offer on. And the seventh mistake a lot of people make is not Googling their trusted real estate advisor. It is critically important that you Google your real estate advisor. I always tell people, look, please type in the name in the search engine, type in the city, and see what kind of results you get. Or type in the person's name and type in the word realtor thereafter and see what kind of ratings, reviews, and past sales performance that agent has. This is a really big mistake if you don't do it, and I don't want to see you make a mistake. Make yourself the promise that you're going to Google that agent, and when you do, you're exploring specifically the ratings, the reviews, and the past sales performance. Sites like Zillow make this a cinch. By simply going on to the agent's profile, you'll be able to see all of that information on one single page. Agents also might have reviews on Facebook and Google, Yelp, Angie's List, what have you. There's a lot of different places out there that you can explore this information. At the end of the day, when you're looking at those reviews, you can get an idea of what real families just like you have said about working with that agent to ensure that you have the right one. If they have a video on YouTube or a video on Facebook or somewhere else, even better. Then you can actually hear them, see them, and see if it's somebody that you feel comfortable with to trust, upholding your best interest moving forward. Not doing this is a huge mistake. Going back to what we said early on, real estate done correct will help you over time build up equity in a positive position financially financially moving into the future over time. Real estate done wrong can set you back for years. It's up to you whether you want to move ahead or take a step back. The 8th home buying mistake is forgetting about your contingencies. Remember that the devil's in the details in a contract. A list price is only a list price, but if you're getting seller concessions in the form of buyer closing costs, getting a home warranty, or other kind of concessions that you need to help you put your deal together, what's more important here? The overall price or the terms of that contract? Going back to our $500,000 home example, let's say the seller has agreed to pay 3% towards your buyer closing costs. We know this is $15,000. Let's say in this case, the house comps out at $500,000 from the comparative market analysis. That means that the seller in effect on paper looks like they sold for $500,000, but at the end of the day, they're $15,000 less because they gave it to you for your buyer closing costs. Now, what's more important to you as a buyer? Getting your closing costs paid for or the list price negotiation, if there's one to be had to begin with? It really depends on the market conditions and the market trends at the time that you write your offer on your new home. All the same, the devil's in the details, and please pay attention to what your contingency timeframes are from your due diligence, where you'll be ordering your home appraisal, ordering your home inspection, through your financial contingencies, and when those drop. You need to be aware of what those dates are, because as those contingencies drop, you could potentially be jeopardizing your earnest money deposit moving forward. And the contingencies, by virtue of a real estate contract, must drop at a certain point. So please make sure that you understand that by reviewing that information with your trusted real estate advisor. Let's get this right for you. The 9th mistake is not taking your buyer due diligence seriously. A lot of people get fixated on the actual house itself, and look, it's completely natural, I get it. At the same time, when you get fixated only on planning on what you're going to do to the house, and you're not fixated on the more important stuff with your due diligence process, then you could be getting a home that could be a money pit into the future if you're not paying attention to those seller disclosures, paying attention to that home inspection report, and listening to the advice of your trusted real estate advisor. Please don't skip on the due diligence. It's critically important to you to ensure that you're not making the wrong move and that you're making the right move for you and yours. The 10th biggest mistake that home buyers often make is second guessing their decision. It's like that you got so excited, you're so emotionally amped up, you put your financial ducks in a row, you're like, yeah, I can afford this house, we're making a smart decision financially, emotionally, this is the right place to go. You get in there, and then all of a sudden, you're in the closing process, and the oh crap moment hits you. It hits everybody, just to be real here. It hits everybody. At the same time, whenever it hits you, you gotta be able to embrace it. And when you embrace it, you just let it deflect off of you, because what happens with some people is they begin second guessing their decision, and that can be a huge catastrophic mistake. In practice, and what I've heard from other trusted real estate advisors, they've sometimes had buyers that get cold feet in as little as like 3 days. They back out of the contract, they go back on the house hunt, they look at 15, 20 or more homes sometimes, make an offer on another house, and now they're regretting that decision because they really wanted the other house, which, oh, by the way, is now sold, and they're like, I should have just committed to that one. We don't want to see that happening. So the best way to alleviate any possible buyer's remorse is writing down what's most important to you about buying a home, how it impacts your life, and keeping your reasons why very clear, front and center. Even if you gotta carry it in your pocket with you everywhere you go, keep your eye on the prize, which is your new home, and make sure you know your reasons why by being clear and honest with yourself and any other decision makers buying this home with you. And another way of looking at this is almost like that Katy Perry song, you're hot and then you're cold, right? Let's keep you hot and let's keep you moving forward, because if you go cold on the right house, it's highly unlikely you're gonna find another one just as much as you love that one. So let's not be hot and cold. Let's make up our mind, stay committed, and stay focused by staying true to yourself. It's important to remember that if it doesn't feel right up front, then it's usually not right. Don't make an offer on the house in that case. But when it does feel right, it usually is right, and keep moving forward with the right house. Please just be true to yourself. The 11th biggest mistake that a lot of home buyers make is blaming other people when things go wrong. And what does this mean? Sometimes, despite all the education that a trusted real estate advisor will impart onto a home buyer, or a loan officer will impart onto a home buyer, and the guidance of buying the home through the closing process and how it works, people will continue on a set motion in their own thought process, drinking their own Kool-Aid. And what ends up happening if something didn't work out because they didn't listen at the time that they should have listened, because they were keeping their mind closed as opposed to open-mindedness, then they might close on that house and realize, oh my God, you know what? This home has a basement. There's a water leak in the basement. Come to think about it, there was a home inspection. I'm not completely sure how the home inspector could have possibly missed something like this. Oh, that's right. The seller had all kinds of stuff down here, so they couldn't really investigate completely. And then you start blaming the home inspector. You start blaming your trusted real estate advisor. You start blaming your loan officer. But at the end of the day, who called the shot? You did. It's time to take ownership of your decision. It's time for you to be personally accountable for your decision-making process. Because at the end of the day, nobody can force you to buy a home or sell a home. Let's be honest here. These are decisions that you're making, and with every decision has a reaction, and every reaction a consequence. Some consequences are good, bad, or indifferent. All the same, by using this information in our conversation today about how to avoid these big home buying mistakes and watching the other videos that I've made that help you know how to buy a home, you'll make the well-informed decision that's right for you. Take ownership of your future, and keep in mind, you are the master of your own destiny. All right, my friends, so now that you know how to avoid the 11 biggest home buying mistakes, let's talk about 5 things successful home buyers do and 15 things not to do before buying a home. Looking forward to our next conversation. We'll see you in a few.